Labor Day is upon us, and I was remarking this morning in our staff meeting that I'm always sad when Labor Day comes. Not that I don't like Labor Day, but it's always a sign that the summer is over, which is always sad for me. However, it is Labor Day, and it has made me stop and think about labor and work, and I think of that sort of great Benedictine motto, ora et labora, meaning labor and prayer, prayer and work together. And I really think, even as we walk into Labor Day this weekend, it's a great opportunity for us to stop and think, how do I think about work as a Christian person? How am I related to work? Am I rightly related to the idea of what my work is and what work is, generally speaking? I do think in our culture we have two opposite sort of extremes, or maybe sometimes they live together. There's this really frenetic desire. They got to work in order so that I can be frenetically attached to my leisure. So there's this high anxiety about sort of all the work that I need to get done, and then there's also this high anxiety that I need to get to my leisure, which in our culture these days seems to me I get to be at my entertainment, so I could be entertained. And I'm not sure that that is a good Christian way of thinking about working. I think sometimes our frenetic attachment to work has a lot to do with a failure to understand our value as persons in Christ, so that we're trying to do something or accomplish something to understand our identity. And sometimes our pursuit of leisure is just our pursuit of trying to be anesthetized from things. And I think work is something very, very different. You know, if you want to go back to the very beginning, God, we all know that on the seventh day, God rested. Well, God rested because God was creating, and creating is fundamentally work. So God worked, and then God rested. It makes us understand that there's something about work that is indeed an expression of God, an expression of the image of God. To work as a human person is to do something that is reflective of who God is. Work is actually a gift to us. Work is to us, in some senses, something that is attached to our identity, our dignity as human persons who are in the image of God. I think also in our culture there's a sense we got to work really, really hard so that we can get to retirement as soon as we possibly can in order to have sort of years and years of leisure. Now, I'm not saying that we should sort of work until we're 102 years old, but I am suggesting that the pursuit of work hard so that we can get to leisure is perhaps the wrong way of thinking about work. God worked, and then he rested. Working is rooted in the reality of what it means to be made in the image of God. I think also, as you think about even Adam and Eve in the garden, we think of the curse after the fall, and that where Adam is sort of, it's the ground is going to be hard to work, and it's with the sweat of your brow will you eat from the fruit of the ground. And the fall does not mean that work was not necessary beforehand. It means it's just hard after the fall. If anybody who has had a garden will understand that a garden requires work if you want to look any decent in any way, or if you want to get good produce from it. It requires work. The garden itself requires work. Work is really what are, on some level, some of the things that we're created to do. So I really think that as we walk into Labor Day, it's important to remember that work is part of who we are. There's something fundamentally dignifying about work. There's something about the image of God that is in work, which also suggests to us that whatever our work is, we should do it well. Because as we work well, it's part of our witness also to God. I remember when I worked in business many years ago, there was a well-known Christian in our office who had all sorts of Christian things emblazoned around his cubicle, and everybody knew that he was a believer. And also very frequently he would walk by his desk and he would be asleep at his desk. It would be better to be a witness to God, to actually do your job really, really well without screaming and yelling and hollering about, here I am a Christian, rather than screaming and yelling and hollering and doing your job poorly. There's something fundamentally good about sort of being a Christian who is at work and doing the best of our work. It says in Colossians, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and as not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Our work, even that we're taking a break from our work on this Labor Day, it helps us celebrate the reality of work that actually brings dignity to us, and also ultimately is something that is for the service of God. May you have a really blessed Labor Day, and may God bless your work.